It's really great to see everybody here this week, because what a weekend we have had in this community and across Oregon. I'd like to note that if you can hear a droning in the background, it's because I'm on a generator right now so that we can host this. And with many thanks to, I think it's Ziply is what we call it now, for repairing our internet so that we have real internet for this as well. And I was saying that only recently did we get our cell phone service back up. So we're 2/3 of the way to being just like everybody else around here. And so I'd love to hear everybody else's personal stories because they matter to me. But it's really good to see everybody here this week. And I just want to acknowledge that we have now had a fire, a pandemic, and an ice storm in the last 12 months. So congratulations, Yamhill County and Northwest Oregon.
Well, Commissioner, just to bring that in perspective, the pandemic is we hope once in a lifetime situation. The fires, as close as they were record breaking as it relates to Yamhill County. And as I will report a little later, PGE had more outages this last time than in 50 years. So these are record-breaking things that we're dealing with.
I said absolutely, but nobody heard me.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an update on ice storm stuff here in a moment. But we have Al with us, and I was wondering if Al would like to join us, begin first with any congressional updates. A lot seems to be happening, but maybe it's not. And we look forward to the passage of another bill. Personally, I do.
Yeah, that's right. The committees are working really hard on getting their recommendations forward to leadership, which is what we're working on right now. And we're hopeful that a bill will pass shortly. I don't have any specifics to share yet because I just don't want to be speculating. Really, the only update that I have for now is that the Congresswoman will be hosting her first telephone town hall of the year, which is tomorrow at 2 p.m. I'll post a link to join, and if anybody wants that link, anybody in this, you can contact anybody in this group, and they should be able to forward it to you. You can also find it on the Congresswoman's website. And that's really my only update for today, but I'm happy to answer any questions or receive questions and follow up if it's something I don't have info on.
Thank you, Al. Does anyone have comments or questions for Al? All right, we're still in, wow, that was a lot of ice mode, maybe. But the question would be then, how did you fare during Ice Storm 2021?
Are you still talking to me, Al, or everybody?
Al.
Yeah, we got power, which is great. We never lost it because we have the baby, which I think as new parents is just like a power outage for a couple of days would be one step too far. But we are in a quarantine pod with our friends that have 2 young kids, and they lost power, so they are camped out at our house for now until their power comes on. So you may hear a little extra loudness in the background from my corner of the world today, but just really grateful for shelter and really concerned about those that don't, and hopeful that folks who are providing resources are able to get out there and support people who need it.
Well, thank you, Al. That was definitely one of the most concerning things, was knowing that there were community members who didn't have a safe place to go. But then as power outages started rippling through our communities, realizing there was another whole round of people who didn't have power at home and didn't have heat and didn't really know where to go and didn't have anybody communicating with them about that. So I feel like that I'm hoping that for our community and statewide, that is a lesson that we learn. Is that we need to immediately jump on that need. But I'm glad that your pod is okay. And then I received an email from our bypass lobbyist, actually estimating how much our county might receive. I'm guessing based upon the eyebrows that Mayor Hill also received something like that from the current version of the COVID relief bill. And I must say that we could build out a pretty good broadband network in our community. But that's to say that we don't know yet if it's going to pass at all. So thank you. And hopefully there'll be things to report back to Congresswoman Bonamici on. And I'm going to go next to Mayor. Oh, are there any more questions or comments for Al? Okay, thank you. And Mayor Hill, what would you like to share with people today?
Well, Commissioner, and those on the line and those that are going to be viewing this, I think what I'd like to start with is Mac Water and Light. I mean, that's been a really pretty good story in McMinnville as it relates to our power. You know, we had crews working night and day during from Friday moving forward. And I'll tell you, as of Sunday, we had all of our major outages contained and back on power. I know Grand Haven and a lot of the northeast part of town had some time where they were without electricity, primarily due to the trees and the snow and the ice. But as of yesterday morning, we were working on the more sparsely populated parts of the city, Peavine Road, northwest Willis Road and Fircrest Road, High Heaven, and again Peavine, and we had crews that were dedicated. As of this morning, we only had 50 clients out of about 16,000 clients that were out of power. And again, we have two-man teams out working on that as we speak. Again, a lot of that has to do with primarily the ice on trees that had downed the lines. I think all of us can tell stories as I move on to the city, but all of us can tell stories about limbs that fell on across the street. Limb fell on a house, on a trailer house, you know, with minimal damage because they weren't big. But as I've been out and about the last 2 days, I've seen just destruction everywhere, even on our new Old Sheridan Road, that new fence that was put up, and there were tree limbs over that. But what I wanted to do is just give a little bit of a feel for PGE, because we got a report from them, and this is out of their governmental affairs.
Mayor, if I might, Wendy from PGE is here, so maybe we should let her do that. But if there's anything that you wanted to finish with before that.
Yeah, let me go ahead and just go back into the city. Again, we had a holiday yesterday, so some of my information from the city is kind of just a bit of a narrative. Again, lots of trees that were down, lots of people using our 911 emergency communications to get response. And again, our teams worked around the clock with about 6 hours of sleep. And our goals were, number one, tree hazard, then ice and snow. And they did, I think, a very good job providing sanding, plowing, and de-icing. It was fairly easy to get around the community. And then they just, like I say, Sunday, yesterday, and today, they're out doing a lot of work in the public right-of-way of getting trees removed and getting hazards off of that. YCAM was kind of our primary source of people getting information. And again, we had the fire department, the police department, and the parks and or the park maintenance group just working overtime to be able to address the needs from an emergency management standpoint. So those are kind of the things. Again, if you have needs, feel free just to reach out to the city. We're back up and fully staffed and doing the things that we need to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? All right, but we have Wendy Elise from PGE with us. So thank you for joining us. Wendy, what a time we are in.
Yes, this is historic, and I will age myself. I've been with the company for over 30 years, and we haven't had an ice event like this in at least 40 years. So even in my long career, it is the ice storm in the last 5 days is why I have a lot of gray right now. But in all seriousness, we have a significant number of customers out, and I'm just going to share some general information just to kind of understand a little, give you a picture of what our line crews are working to restore power. As of this morning at 6:30, we have more than 216,000 customers out. That's about 25% of all of our customers. We've restored 290,000. What's happening is we are bringing people up, and a tree or a limb or something comes down, and then we're working in another area to restore or to repair facilities, poles, wires, to bring that same group of people on that line up. So one step forward, one step back. And our crews are doing everything they can, right now our crews are working 24/7. And I will reiterate that safety is of the highest concern for our employee as well as the community, our community members. They're working 24/7, and line crews are working 16-hour shifts. We have about almost 1,000 line crew personnel, 1,000 people working out in the field trying to restore power. And we have an additional 2,500 total staff. So nearly 3,500 people are focused on restoring power for our customers right now. It is all hands on deck. Everything else waits, which is historic. We have line crews that have come in all the way from California, Washington, Nevada, and Montana. So we have received mutual assistance from neighboring states, and we'll note that one of our staging areas for all of these crews is Chemeketa Community College in Salem. The Beachy Creek fire was staged there, and we gathered some lessons of how well that facility worked, and so we have staged all of the out-of-state crews to be there, and we appreciate Chemeketa Community College for those of you associated with them. And I know they have a presence in McMinnville as well. Wires down. These are all those that we know of that we've reported that are. It's over 52, almost 5,300. At the peak, we had almost 15,000 of those wires down. Just to give you a sense. And at the peak, this is again, we measure all of our storms. At the peak of this storm, we had nearly 300,000 customers out, and primarily in the Marion, Yamhill, and also Clackamas areas were really hit hard with the ice. So just to give you kind of that large picture, I also wanted to reiterate, because I've been on the phone with several of both your emergency manager, Brian Young, as well as several cities. In terms of priorities, PGE prioritizes hospitals, critical facilities, and that includes hospitals, water treatment, sewer systems. Those are high priorities for us, and they get elevated because they are considered a critical facility. And I have heard from several cities in Yamhill County, and I have reported them. We have some progress being made, but of course we can never move fast enough with so much, basically so much damage. I just want to share with you that we're certainly aware. I'm talking with cities several times a day in your communities, trying to provide them updates, and certainly we're trying to work to restore the power there. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, first of all, thank you, Wendy, for all of your work, and then thank you for taking the time to join us today. It means a lot to me, at least. Are there questions here for Wendy?
Yeah, hi, this is Abisha. Can I jump in?
Please.
I'm trying to preserve my audio by sacrificing my video. So, Wendy, first of all, I mean, as probably all of us on the call, I'm certain, and many more out in the public would like to say thank you so much for all the work that the line workers are doing. And we ask that you extend that appreciation because we know that, right, these are extreme, extenuating circumstances. And I live in Salem, and so I'm very aware of just kind of, and I live in an old growth tree area, so we've seen it firsthand just how extreme this sort of stuff is that your teams are dealing with, and so I want to first extend appreciation. Secondly, for the sake of those on the call, but also those listening, what can we do to help, to provide support, to be helpful, to stay out of the way? What can we do?
I appreciate. Thank you for the comments, and I will be sure to pass those along on behalf of all the leadership here for Yamhill County. Really appreciate that. It does get past the line crews, and it lifts their spirits to know that their work is appreciated. Particularly, they've been at it now for 5 days, and will be at it until the very end. I will pass that along. I appreciate that. I think one of the things that I'm hearing, and I may be reaching out to Yamhill County and other communities, is at times, and we've done some of this already. At times, our we ask that our line crews be allowed to do their work safely. And if you can communicate to folks that please do not approach them. They are working with a dangerous product in dangerous situations, and having folks come up to them and ask them about their particular outage restoration. As much as we understand, it does distract them and it creates a safety risk. And so that's one, is just really please allow our line crews to work safely and really focused. And so I think that's a very important message, because we're getting reports of that increasing in a variety of areas, and we want to make sure that they're safe and that they're focused. If they have concerns, we have several ways for them to report. And I know it's frustrating to see the restoration times changing, so I can see why they'd want to go talk to the guy on the ground. But again, that's putting our line guys at risk when they're not focused on doing their job. So that's one. The other kind of way is that we may be reaching out as we're working through a variety of areas. What we're hearing is the tree debris and branches and access into those. And so we have, I believe, over 40 vegetation crews at both our PGE, and we've employed contract crews. And there may be an opportunity for us to be requesting help with removing debris, as well as support from police and fire, or to close off streets so we can safely do the work as we're cleaning up. And so that request might be coming in probably to Brian Young, your emergency manager. We'll work through him. And that's how we've been funneling them, is saying, Brian, because he's got connected with all the cities. So we're working strongly in collaboration with Brian. And so those are, and then the other message is, one of the things that we, as frustrated as people are, is sending out messages to kind of calm, recognizing that people are really frustrated and really tired, and they want their power, but just trying to calm, kind of provide information that we're all in this together, and trying to kind of calm the tone of some of the contacts that we're getting right now. And I won't go into it, but some folks who are confronting our line crews are not necessarily being very respectful or friendly. And that's very dangerous. That's a very dangerous safety concern for us. So again, just putting out the message of recognizing this is really tough for all of us, but just how we're trying to work together to bring everybody back up. If that's helpful.
That is helpful. Thank you, Wendy. And I think, we heard when we first got on the call, folks talking about these are historical events and unprecedented times. And I think many people are kind of tired of living through historical events and unprecedented times. So I think our hearts go out to everyone who especially those who are suffering or struggling right now. I just want to leave this with you as well. I heard you say that we have out-of-state crews that are coming in and collecting to provide us support. And just as we did with the Beachy Creek fire, if there's anything that we can do to provide provisions, if necessary, for the folks at that camp that are doing that work, food, restroom access, water, please let us know. SEDCOR would love to be a conduit of support to make sure that those resources are gathered and help you guys out. So if you identify any opportunity there for support, Wendy, please reach out. We at SEDCOR would love to help.
That's thank you for bringing that up, because that is actually something I really said something. We have been challenged with lodging for all these folks, and also because of the outage, we have also been challenged, particularly in the Salem and Woodburn areas, around food, because we're delivering the foods. They come in, they eat, and then they go back out. And I did hear some. So if we'll connect off of this call, and there may be some opportunities for you to support us that way, because I know that that's been identified as a challenge.
That'd be great. I'll shoot you an email right now so it's in your inbox, and let's start coordinating.
Perfect. The other piece I wanted to share with you, because this is reported in several of your communities, if you are aware of some assisted living retirement communities for our vulnerable customers, please pass those along to me as well. That is also a priority for us. We recognize this is a vulnerable community, and we want to identify any facilities in your communities that we serve, in order for us to be aware of the importance of getting power restored, particularly with this population during this time.
Sounds good. Thank you, Abhisha, for those questions. And thank you, Wendy. It's good to know there are areas where we actually can help, even if it's just communicating with people. I think the one thing that we have discovered on our island, and other people have discovered, is that down power lines may still be live. So it's a crazy thing to think about, totally unexpected. But that if there's a line that's down, treat it as if it's live.
Yeah. Absolutely. Those are all good reminders. And, fingers crossed that in the next 24 or 48 hours that we're going to make some really good progress. The weather, as we've all noticed, the weather has warmed up for us, and hopeful that no more will coming. That ice really did some damage, and it took a while for us to thaw out. So fingers crossed that we can make some progress here now that it's gotten warmer.
And Wendy, another question for you. Are transmission lines or transmission affected, or is it primarily just the distribution within communities?
That's a great question. So it's been substations, the large, big, these are substations that are located in a variety of, they're like hubs of energy. And from there's transmission lines that go from the substations, and then from the transmission line, it goes into distribution. So this is historic in the sense that we've had substations and transmission, pretty significant, them falling or going out due to the ice. So it is substation, transmission, and then distribution, all three, which is not the trifecta that you want at all. And that's, again, part of the slowing of the process. Is transmission lines are pretty high voltage, and so there is extra care in repairing them, particularly transmission poles, and then substations, also bringing those back up. So it is it's just an extraordinary effort that we're in, and I wish we could say 2021 would bring, leave behind 2020. Precedents, and historic events, but this is another one to add to this kind of 1 year that we will survived.
Yes, thank you. And I must say that on the crews showing up, as we had our first scouts or reconnaissance crew on the island just before I logged on here, and I saw a lot of people, in the distance being like.
Good.
At least
That's
here
so
they're
great.
very happy.
That's so great to hear. We call those crews the bird dogs. Bird dogs. That's
Very
just,
nice.
yeah. And I was a meter reader when I first started the company, so I did that. I did how you go out and you just do initial review and then Eagle Crew. I mean, there's a very clear process of how they start to begin to assess, physically assess. So I'm glad to hear that they're in your area.
It was very exciting for everybody down here. Joya had a question for you. Joya Goodrum.
Wendy, thank you so much for this update. It's super important because we have a lot of members that are not in the McMinnville area that are being impacted, and honestly really appreciate it. I can only imagine trying to mobilize 3,500 people to do this work is a huge effort, and really appreciate that. So you mentioned that, we haven't seen a storm like this in 40, maybe 50 years, I heard, somewhere in that vicinity. So moving forward, our population in Oregon has grown significantly in those 40 years. You have many, many more clients. Moving forward, what is the plan? In case this happens again, what I don't know, stopgaps, or I don't know, what would you be doing to maybe mitigate some of the issues that happened this time? Thank you.
That's a great question. And PGE is consistently updating and preparing and planning for these types of events. So we certainly have invested in our infrastructure and in technology, in the technology of our infrastructure. What I can say to you, because I'm not in operations and have all the details, but what I can tell you is that after this event, we do a very detailed assessment of what happened, how we restored power, and certainly lessons learned, and it will be incorporated into our planning for the future, both from a response, but also from an infrastructure planning, technology planning. So the company does that. And we also do a debriefs with our partners to also understand how the communication went, how we can improve it, and how we go forward. So what I can say is that PGE is doing it every day. We look at our infrastructure and prepare for these. We have planning events, we have emergency events, we have Yamhill County. Brian has been engaged with our training events and provided us feedback, because we every year we do 1 to 2 events, and we create all kinds of scenarios, and we bring in folks like Brian to come and give us feedback about how we're responding. So I can tell you that we're doing that every day. But from this specific event, there will be a debrief and lessons learned, and what we learn will be incorporated into future plans. And certainly we will welcome feedback from our partners in Yamhill County.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And everything really that you and everyone at PGE does. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I do know I was on our Public Works management call this morning, and while it wasn't specific to PGE's lines, the crew has been, over the past year, really emphasized brushing of county roads to get stuff back from power lines, back from the road. And doing that beforehand has been very effective, it turns out, and at least keeping a lane of traffic open, but also from impacting your power lines. But I also know that, at least in our area, PGE's contract crew has been way more proactive in the last few years with trimming around trees. And I have to assume that's related to what we've seen in California.
Absolutely. Casey, that's absolutely correct. We have invested heavily in vegetation management. And will continue to do so in terms of the type of trying to keep. I think we're on a 1 to 2 year rotation now. It's pretty incredible how they've really increased the maintenance and trying to ensure that as much as we can, we try to keep vegetation away from our facilities. So that's a good note, because it reflects what's been happening in terms of the investment we've made on the maintenance side.
Yeah, definitely. And in our area, it's a 2-year, and I think it was either a 5 or a 6-year previous. So it's definitely observed and appreciated here. The public safety power shut up, I don't think that's the right phrase for it. Is another example of what I can think of where PGE, at least in the Mount Hood Canyon, was proactive this last summer too.
Yes, we were. And I mean, a kudos to Brian Young, your emergency manager. He is actively working with our emergency management team. And we're talking about, in terms of wildfire mitigation planning, resiliency planning, and he has been talking with our teams throughout this ice storm. So I just want to give him a shout out because he's been an outstanding partner. He came on to the county a few years ago and immediately reached out and became basically an extension of our team because he has attended our trainings. We've attended some of his kind of staff gatherings as well. But I just want to let everyone know that you have an excellent emergency manager in Brian.
Yeah, thank you for that reminder. It's good to hear from outside of the community. We do hear from inside the community, but from a bigger organization, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments for Wendy? We don't want to I don't want to have you take up all of your time here because I heard a phone call. So
I was going to say, if there are no other questions, you all have my email. I think Casey includes me in the distribution. Please feel free to reach out. I do. This is a busy time, and I will need to leave this call and call a county commissioner.
All right. Well, thank you. Are there any last questions? Abhisha unmuted herself. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know, Wendy, that we've already started an email chain at SEDCOR, and we're working on answering some of these needs for you. So please just keep in touch as you can. Feel free to text me on my cell phone if texting is easier, and I'll shoot you over whatever we find.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Wendy. Okay. Mayor Hill, did you finish everything you wanted to share?
Yes, I think today we're just focusing on this activities of the weekend. So thank you.
That sounds good. And what I'm going to do is go to other folks and then circle back to other McMinnville counselors just to make sure we get everybody. And with that, I'm going to ask Joya, I know we're getting out of order, but you can shake your head if you don't want to talk right now. She has one thing.
I just have one thing. I'll be really quick. We are going to be hosting a economic forum on March 2nd with economist, it's hard to say that word today, economist from the employment department to talk about how the pandemic has impacted our state. And particularly he focuses on our regional area on the mid-Willamette Valley. So that is going to be on the 2nd of March at 12. If anyone is interested in participating, please let me know. It's free to members. It's free to the community. We really want to get the information out to people. And that's all I have. So thank you. Thanks for that moment.
Thank you, Joy. Is that Pat O'Connor or is it somebody else?
It's Pat.
Great. I do like to note that Pat is our local troubleshooter on employment claims. So he has helped so many people with those just stuck claims because he's not a claims processor, but he knows just enough to be willing to put down his own work and help somebody get things moving. So kudos to him.
Yeah, he's like a jack of all trades, and I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. And so if anyone wants to come, let me know. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you very much, Joya. And Steve Sugg, what would you like to share with the community, superintendent of Dayton Public School?
Well, I'm without power as well. I think, we are a neighbor, so don't have power up at our end either. So I'm glad to hear there's a bird dog crew out there. There was a lot of talk on, chatter, parents wondering if we would cancel today. Dayton decided not to. We have students coming in Lippy, and we're trying to serve students. So we have said, that our teachers will take it easy on the curriculum, make it more about connecting with students and families, making sure everybody's okay, those that connect with. And what we found is about 75 to 80% of our students that we expected to come in have come in. And we're seeing at the high school level, we have a way we can kind of see, students that have our Chromebooks, whether or not they're logging in. We're seeing about 80% of our normal use there. So, there are pockets, definitely out in Grand Island, other areas where there's no electricity. There's not much going on. And we did try to expand our limited in-person instruction opportunities to get a few more kiddos in the building. We just think it's important that for those kids who might not have power at home or, electricity, food, we're still serving. We're offering our food service still, and offering a chance for kids to come in and have a place to come in and interact and get warm, hopefully.
Great, thank you very much. And yes, I thought it was our secret that we're neighbors. It is amazing, how many people are without power. So I'm happy to share the news with our superintendent. But I want to say that because we've had terrible cell phone service, apparently because 30 communication towers were out in the Mid-Willamette Valley. So Grand Island in our area, no phone calls the last few days. So I've been spending time in the courthouse park in Dayton, where there's great cell phone reception. So thanks, Dayton. All right, thank you for that update. I really appreciate it. Abhisha, what would you like to share with people? And thank you for being our voice here to Wendy and PGE. You said some beautiful things.
Oh, thank you. Well, considering what so many people are dealing with, we feel pretty blessed. And before I heard some of your wonderful stories about being great neighbors, I was about to say that I probably have the best neighbors in the world, who are all out helping each other and clearing wood and checking on each other and just being phenomenal people. And I think it's good to remember that these are the times our communities come together. And so thank you all for being here and being those amazing neighbors as well. I do want to let you know that SEDCOR has, as many folks have, shifted some events that were planned for this week. So we did have our Ag Tech Innovation Hub launch, kind of our forum was supposed to be tomorrow, and that got moved out to March 3rd. So anybody who had signed up for that would have received a notification of that change. But if you did not sign up because you didn't think you'd be able to attend tomorrow, please look at that again and see if you might be able to attend on the 3rd. We would love to have you. In regards to the impacts on our business communities, this new disaster, I think Philip Higgins did a great job of sending out a summary of some of that economic impact assessment that was done very quickly, I might add, right? But he sent out some information that was pretty meaningful. So these are the sorts of things that we're seeing impact our businesses right now. Is we know that transportation is a big problem. It's not just our state. I want to say it's 24 states, right? We're impacted by this extreme inclement weather. And then, I just read this morning another state had a hurricane or a tornado or just some other devastating thing that I can't quite wrap my mind around because I'm still focused on ice storm and losing our fence. But this is not a hyper-local issue, right? This is a much larger, much more wide-felt issue. And so we will continue to see now a trickling of impact. Even after the major thrust of impact is over, we'll continue to see a trickling impact of supply chain interruptions and businesses kind of, again, trying to recover from this, right? So we know that our most hard-hit community members in terms of that financial impact are those who are hourly employees, hourly workers who are probably not able to get to work. And then of course our more vulnerable populations in general. So this is kind of when I put SEDCOR, I should say, puts their community hat on, right? So economic development has a a lot of areas of work and impact, and one of them is certainly around that community development piece. So this is where we dive back into that community focus sort of a thing. So we're doing a lot of work in ensuring that access to resources are being made available. We are sharing out information about warming shelters and where food can be found, and information about timing, which we know is unknown at this point, but return of power, communicating to our business partners about what resources are available for their employees, that sort of thing. So we're still in the middle of it, and I'll share what I learn as it comes. But here we are again in unprecedented times. And I am also a little bit exhausted with historical unprecedented times. So I would like to just, for life to be boring for a little bit. That would be great. So I'll end with that. Thank you.
Yeah, here for a little bit of boring. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you for putting this into the economic perspective. And while we do still have a pandemic, and we were all honestly disheartened last week when we were here, realizing that we were not going to move down a risk level. So far, again, our case counts in Yamhill County are looking very positive in terms of continuing to fall. So this is a very hopeful sign about moving down a risk category, so that at least we can get one of these behind us, one of these pandemics, as it were, or one of these crises. See, I'm seeing chat features and I can't talk apparently. Are there questions, Abhisha? All right, thank you, Abhisha. Councillor Drapkin from the city of McMinnville needs to leave early, but if, Councillor, do you have anything you'd like to update us on?
Well, I was trying to get this into the chat, but it looks like the link's not working. So I'm just going to read off this PDF really quickly. There's a discussion on ensuring racial justice in court this Thursday, February 18th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. on WebEx. Please join the Oregon Judicial Department and the Yamhill County Circuit Court to discuss how the court is addressing racial bias and inequities in the justice system. Oregon Supreme Court Justice Adrian Nelson and Access to Justice Counsel Valerie Colas will discuss what is being done at the state level. Local judges will discuss what is being done in Yamhill County. There will be an opportunity to ask questions. No advanced registration is required. Spanish interpretation and closed captioning is available. If you require accommodations or have questions, contact Catherine Owens at 503-434-7486 or email catherine.b.owens@oj.state.or.us. And this will feature moderator, presiding judge Cynthia Easterday, speaker Justice Adrian Nelson from the Oregon Supreme Court, speaker Valerie Colas from Access to Justice Counsel, speaker Judge John Collins from the Yamhill County Circuit Court, and speaker Judge Cynthia Kaufman-Noble from the Tribal Court and McMinnville Municipal Court. And thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. I know that the judges I've spoken with are very excited and honored to be part of this. And at least the defense side, the public defenders in the county are all very excited to have this panel here. So encourage everybody, if they have the opportunity, to at least tune in for part of it. Thank you, Counselor. And my generator time is limited, so I'll apologize if we disappear, and including my internet. But Counselor Menke, what would you like to share with us today? She says this, which I'm interpreting as no thank you. But while our case counts continue to go down, hooray, and we have 1,000 doses of new vaccine in Yamhill County this week, also very good, and we expect more as the weeks move forward. We do continue to have people suffering from the coronavirus. So I just want to ask you to keep folks in your mind and in your hearts this week, is that as we have fewer cases and as more people get the vaccine, there is less suffering in our community, but we still have it with us. So pandemic on top of disaster on top of disaster. But out in the community, the people who are here right now, they are working for you every day. And I am just amazed by your dedication to the people of this community. Thank you. Are there any last thoughts? Joya has one last thought.
I can't help myself. I'm sorry. I was actually speaking to a neighbor of mine. I live in a 55 and older community, and they were very concerned about the fact that they were unable to get a vaccine, where they had friends in California that got their vaccine and South Carolina that got their vaccine. And so, I didn't know what to tell her because we get what we get, right? So is there any news on that front? I know we've got 1,000 more, which is really great. Where are we with that? And can you speak to that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We do have, we're getting doses in every week, which is not what every county necessarily is getting new doses in every week. And I can't remember if we've talked about this before, but our tribal partner here, which is the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde, have been opening doses to the community to essentially anybody who hears about it and makes an appointment as they have doses available. And they've vaccinated everybody so far who wants it and is eligible in their community, literally down to 18-year-olds and spouses of casino employees. So that's been a great kind of, not everybody knows about it and not everybody can take advantage of it, but it is getting more people vaccinated in our community, which is just tremendous. I know that having the convention center closed over the weekend meant that a lot of folks didn't get vaccine doses who were scheduled. So that's been very challenging. But I think you'll be heartened to know that Elise Yarnell, who's joined us at times as a counselor, Elise Yarnell Holloman, who's a city councilor in Newburgh, is one of the team members. I kind of think she's even the lead of logistics for the convention center. So I think we should be proud to have somebody who's really driving the statewide vaccine dosing efforts. But along those lines, as weeks go by, we get further down the eligibility, which means that as people get vaccinated, there are more doses available for the smaller pool, right? When we have 100,000 people in the county and we only have 1,000 doses, it's harder for each person to get their chance. Each week I do remind the state that we need more doses. Actually, Al, when Al and I were talking recently, the question was, well, what can the Congresswoman do? And I said, more doses, please. Just more doses. So I think Al got that message pretty clear. And I think we can, I know we can. Right now, our county in the public health capacity is 5,000 doses a week, and we're getting 1,000 doses. But I talked with Councilor Yarnell Holloman, and she said, well, heck, we could probably do double or triple or quadruple that in the county if you gave us the doses. It's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So we can do it. I know that the Biden administration has said, you're going to see more doses coming week by week and month by month, but it is really hard to wait. And so, sorry, that's not a great answer. But remember, Joya, to let your neighbors know about the sign-up form that's available through the county website.
I have told them about that, so thank you. But I will remind them again. Thank you so much. And I'm really happy to see that we have that. That's great.
Yes, and a reminder, too, that you can fill it out for other people. So if there's folks who are not comfortable with the technology or just don't have access or don't do this very well or don't do this very well, you can do it for them. It's not an exclusive to the person kind of deal.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any last thoughts? Great. It's good to see all of you here this week, and out in the community, stay safe and stay away from power lines. We'll see you next week.
And big trees. Bye.